Hello and welcome to Why Did I Do It? I'm your host, Olani Kupeka. This is a show where we take time to uncover the realities and difficulties that men go through. Things that men that face on each and every day of their lives. Now, I want you to understand that in this show, we are not throwing a lifeline of defense. Asinigezi amachita or abobaba ngaphandle, a line to say, it's because of this that I'm like this. Not necessarily that way, but we're trying to expose and raise an awareness that men do themselves go through particular things and are themselves screaming and shouting out for help. On to today's topic, we are focusing on men coming together. Because whether we like it or not, we are living in a society and time where men are scattered, where men are not having that particular time and space where they can come and share things that they really go through. Now, when I'm talking about men coming in together, I'm not talking about that normal ukchile koneni, shama klasa itunyana, or just talk about soccer. But I'm talking about us as men coming in to talk about the realities and difficulties that we are facing in life, where we can come in a space where we can talk about serious issues like the abuse that we as men are facing, like all those other things that we are going through on a daily basis. Men coming together and talking about serious issues. Now think about it. If we as men can spend more time talking about heavy and serious issues of our lives, talking about what we're going through with our wives, what we are going through with our life partners, what we are even going through with our very own parents. Because whether we like it or not, there are things that as men we are going through. Whether we are tando or awuthandi, kunendoda oyaziyo who his wife is actually abusing him. And nobody's paying attention to that. Whether you like it or not, you know a brother who is going through particular difficulties in their families. And those are the things that we need time as men to actually create space, create opportunities, take out some times and talk about to each other. Because as Amachita, as one thing that I know and I believe in, there is no man that can help a man unless it's a man himself. Because if it's not a man, then I may not necessarily understand your difficulties. Yes, sometimes we do have our partners, our wives, our partners who sometimes bear that burden. But there is no man who can bear a burden of a man like another man can. So if we as men can actually create time and spaces where we come and we share with each other, I can't. I'm struggling to provide for my wife. And it's becoming difficult. I'm struggling in bed and it's becoming difficult. How do I get out of that? And those are the platforms as men that we are missing. Yes, we have got all the platforms as men where we can talk about soccer, where we can talk about alcohol, where we can talk about women, how we have all these nice times in bed with them. But we don't have those structures in place where we can come and share the pains and share the difficulties and share all the struggles that we are going through. Because the fact of the matter is, we are going through troubles. The more people treat you in a particular way is the more they are creating scars in you. And the more they are creating scars in you is the more you are going to have a particular behavior, because as a human being, there's always going to be a time and a space wherein you are going to get tired and your scars are going to come out. This is a show where we focus and we are uncovering the realities and difficulties that men go through. Now, how do we then come to a point where we are creating these structures? How do we then come to a point where we build these things as men? One of the greatest ways that I would like to share with us as men is that, first of all, we can start by creating mentors, whether we like it or not, there's somebody who has gone through something and then they've managed to have actually to survive throughout those circumstances. Because yes, as much as wonka machita, we are going through all those difficulties, kuba khona labo one or two who have managed to come out as a better person out of those things that they've went through. Now, if those one or two can be able to take at least 3 or 4 boys ekas and decide to say, listen, Nina bafethu, because I've realized that there is that particular father figure or something that's missing in your life. I'll take you under my wing. I'll then begin to teach you. Because we've got only those ones who have got those fleshy lives, who are actually mentoring these young guys. And what do we have now? We then keep on we are breeding a generation of criminals in some instances. But what if la mama chita laba, who have come out as better people out of the situations and the difficulties that they faced, if they can decide to take 1 or 2 young boys, young men, to say, listen, I am going to take you under my wing. I am going to share the knowledge with you that I've acquired. The knowledge on business, the knowledge in marriage, the knowledge in whatever this expertise that you might have carried over the times. What you then do, you take 1 or 2 boys, you then begin to pass on that knowledge into them. Imagine if you can have 3 or 4 businessmen, ekas, maybe Alex Etipslut or Soweto, who are going to take just 3 different boys in each and every street and begin to teach them the goodness of business. Imagine how many good business people are we going to have. Abo Baba who have been in marriage. Because if you can think about it, Abo Baba Betu, they've been married for 40, 60 years. Some have been married for 30 years. It means that there's something that they know that we, the generation of today, are doing wrong. Now, if they can take their time to pass on that information, it means then we are on our way on creating and building a better generation after us. Because yes, each generation we might have not gotten that information, but whatever that we are gathering now, we can create a better generation that's going to come after us. Secondly, part of the things that we can do, which is one of the most important one, celebrating each other's successes. At some point in time, as a machita, we stop competing with each other and start complimenting each other. Think about it. If a guy who has, like, I'm going to make an example of the guy that we all know, the guy who decided to EP02. If that guy has got friends who have done something else, probably a great line of genes, if they were to come together, think about it. If they were not going to drag each other down, but they were going to compliment each other, begin to celebrate each other's success. As amachita ekas. If I am a good soccer player, right? I'm making another example. And then you are a great cricket player. And then Omunya has got connections. If that guy can begin to see the greatness that is within the next person and begin to use their connections to connect the other guy, then what are we then creating? We are creating a system of support as Amachita where we begin to celebrate the greatness within each other. Not lento noguti, no, how is he doing it? No, next week but then, and then that in itself, it's then we as men become a divided society in our own, wherein we are already in a society that has divided us already. But if we as men can come together and begin to celebrate each other's success, we are then creating a ripple effect that will keep on impacting generation and generation, wherein Tina, as men, will then become one. Because whether we like it or not, we are living in a time where men are segregated. And these issues are the ones that if we can begin to celebrate each other, begin to bring each other together as one, we are then going to help each other. The third point that I'm going to share with you is acknowledgement. Tina Machita, we are very good at knowing how not to acknowledge that I've got a problem. We are very good at knowing how not to acknowledge that I've got a problem. You know very well that you have got an issue probably with drugs, with alcohol, with abuse. But you will not acknowledge to Amachita out there. Why? Because of Tina Amachita, ourselves as well. I'm coming back to the point that as kwazi celebratana, we are not mentoring each other. But if we had those structures, it will become easier for me to be able to acknowledge and say, mfethu, ngiyahluleka. Because the more I then begin to acknowledge and say, what happens is that the person who has the knowledge, who has the expertise in helping me in that, will then join our forces together. That person will then begin to build me up. Because what we need as men, we need to begin to build each other up. Take a brick. Take that brick, place it in my life. Take that brick, put it under my feet so that I can go up. Because as long as I'm acknowledging that, listen, I need help in this department. Listen, I've been trying to do business. I'm failing. You probably have an idea in this. You have been doing this for long. Assist me. Help me. Then when Zagalani, you begin to build a nation of strong men. We begin to build a society of men who are there, because the minute you acknowledge, you then opening up. What I love is this word intimacy. If you actually break it down, you see it says, into me and see. And if we are going to acknowledge it according to each other, in other words, we are saying to Amachita, come into me and see my weaknesses. I need that help. So it means, Tina Amachita, we need to create that time of intimacy together. Not the intimacy, the other one. Not that intimacy. But the intimacy of friendship, the intimacy of brotherhood, where we speak and we build each other up. Those are the things that we need to begin to build as men. This is a show where we focus and we are uncovering the realities and difficulties that men go through. Now, one of the most important things, besides the ones that I've just shared, that I believe that as men, as a society of men, that we need to begin to create a culture of, is becoming your brother's keeper. Now, where do I take the brother's keeper? Obviously, we know a very famous story in the Bible of Cain and Abel. But I'm not necessarily going to talk about that. But that's where the thing comes from. How often is it that as guys, we are unable to keep each other's lives, protect each other? Because if you think about it, if I am going to become your brother's keeper, whenever I think of this thing of a brother's keeper, I always think of myself and a very particular brother of mine that I have. A brother's keeper is someone whom when you are in trouble, someone who, when they actually would say, if somebody wants to know everything about you or know something about you, that is the guy that they'll run to. If somebody wants to know something deep and personal about you, that is the person that they'll run to. Imagine if we are in a society in a time where, as men, you all have that one guy or that one friend who becomes a brother's keeper to you, who becomes that person who will shield you, who will come and protect you, who will come and cover you. Because whether we like it or not, in our time, we are living in a time and space wherein so many things are put out there. So many things are put out there for everybody to see. The nakedness of a man is placed out there to see. But now a brother's keeper is somebody who, when the nakedness is revealed, he is able to come and put on a blanket over you. Yes, we do as men, we need to create that brother's keeper, that brotherhood. Wherein that man, that will be the man that you will say that if really endlini ushayekile, there is nothing. That is the guy that you give a call and say, listen, dude, angna next endlini, can you give me a helping hand? That will be the guy that really who would know all the ins and outs about you, because you need that kind of a guy, because that's the guy who will then be able to tell once you are going off the rail. Yes, because time to time, as a machita, we do go off the rail. Have you ever noticed, have you ever sit in your life and just looked at your own life, and think like, no, maralanya fambula. Have you ever think about it and look at the things that you go through and see what la, I need someone. I cannot do it on myself. And that's where the brother's keeper come in. That is the guy who then, when you're going through things, because understand this, understand this, gents. It's not every friend that you have that is a friend. And that is the thing that brings us to a point where we as men ourselves are divided. Because Tina, instead of celebrating each other, we are then competing against each other. Now, a brother's keeper is not a person who's going to be competing with you, but it's a person who's going to be complimenting you. Because when you have a brother's keeper, it is the person who is going to harbor all your things, who's going to harbor all your stories, who's going to harbor all your difficulties. Because as men, we do go through those things, and you need a shoulder to cry on. A brother's keeper is that guy that who will always present to you a shoulder to cry on. A brother's keeper is that man who's always going to say to you, because in each and every time, you always need a person who's going to give you that voice of reason. And sometimes the voice of reason may not come from within. The voice of reason may not come from your parents or families. But a brother's keeper, who is someone who is a friend, is that guy who's going to be the voice of reason. That's the guy, even when you're feeling that rage, that right now I feel like slapping my wife, is the guy you pick up your phone and call him and he says to you, we are better. We all need that person in life. We all need that guy who's going to strengthen you. That guy who's going to be able to speak sense into your head. Because yes, whether you like it or not, have you ever noticed that there are buttons that people have learnt about you to press, that you yourself have even learnt how to control? Have you ever noticed that there are things that you yourself do not know how to move within yourself? And such is life. Such is life. There are certain things, as human beings, and I'm like, but how did I get there? Because we were here. That's when you have a brother's keeper, a person who's going to speak sense and say, listen, before you get to 6, consider 2, 3. When you start at 1, consider there's still 2, there's still 3. Before you get to number 7, go through all the gears. And that, my brothers, is what we need to create as brothers ourselves. We need to create that space. We need to create that time. We need to create that relationship where we will be brothers keepers, where we will spend time together and share secrets with each other, and share our burdens with each other, and share our problems and difficulties with each other. And after sharing those things, we cry together, we hold each other, and we tell each other kuzolunga. We even pray together, we believe in each other, we give support to each other, because we need each other. This is a show where we focus and we are uncovering the realities and difficulties that men go through. Now, Buffett, we need to understand one thing. The struggles of the generation that went before us and the struggles that we are facing today are totally different. And only if we can join our hands together, and create a brotherhood, and create times and spaces for ourselves, and create that structures of support. Because yes, as much as Papa Bet, we're fighting the freedom of political and other things, but not only that, the struggles as a Semakaya were totally different. Because emakaya, they probably were struggling with the type of relationships and all those things that they were having. But Tina, we are facing different struggles wherein we need to find ourselves and fit in the society. A society that is coming to a point where it looks like it's sidelining us. Those are our own struggles, and only we can address them and be able to create a better generations that's going to come after us. Because whether we like it or not, it is up to us to create a place and a platform that will help the generation that is yet to come after us. Thank you for joining us this week. Join us again next week when we will be having another interesting topic. Owakwakbheka umasabodo ukhathide umbende is saying peace out.